Hello, this is wmpyr here to answer a comment that I got recently. And boy, this is a tough one, so I'm probably going to be all over the place, so I apologize for that. But basically, this one says, hey, thank you for your videos. I started taking Kali courses, and you helped me with the solo training. I am now at a point where solo training is a bit easy and boring compared to training with a partner. Solo training doesn't seem to help me as much with classes than it did in the beginning. Alright, so he basically just wants to hear my 2 cents on that. And, first of all, let me just say, hey, congratulations in actually taking the next step and signing up and actually taking a class, So, good for you. Good for you. I hope you're having a blast. The next part, it says, I am now at a point. So in your mind, when you say something like that, it's like you were a beginner and now you're not a beginner, and really, I wouldn't view things like that. Try not to view things like that because, really the belts and, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, all that kind of stuff is really just for a reference. It's when you're talking to someone that maybe they don't know martial arts and they go, hey, you've been training in martial arts, right? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, well, what belt are you? And if you don't have a belt in your system, you can say, well, I'm still a beginner, but I think I'm getting close to intermediate or whatever. You're just giving them a reference point. That's all it is, So don't take that too seriously. What you want to do is just view yourself as a student for life. I think that is the proper attitude there. You never stop learning. When I look at myself right now, the training that I do today, there are certain things that I'm maybe advanced at, and there's certain things that I'm intermediate at, and there's certain things that I'm a total beginner at, and I go through that every day. Okay, I go through that every day, so it's not really, I could just say I'm advanced, I'm cool, I'm done. It's not like that. And if it is, I think you're training incorrectly. You know what I mean? So even Hoist Gracie says something like, I love the basics. He likes to go over the basics. He's a stickler for that, So there's some lessons to be learned with that kind of attitude there. All right, so he says solo training is a bit easy and boring compared to working with a partner. All right, yeah, that's pretty normal because back when I was teaching a class, when I had students come in and I was teaching in person, some of my students said the exact same thing, and I would try to tell them, hey, you got to do your homework. You got to do solo training at home. And they're like, yeah, I know, but, training with a partner is just so much more fun and it's more exciting. And when I'm training at home, it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as realistic. I'm not making any contact. I just, I can't do it, and they pretty much say something like that, and I tell them, look, you got to do it. If you don't do it, then your progression is going to be slower, and we're not going to be able to get to new stuff in class. And it is necessary. The thing that I got to tell you right here is that solo training and partner training are 2 different things. So comparing them and saying partner training is so much cooler, it doesn't benefit you. That's not going to help you. All right, because you need both. There's pros and cons to partner training, and there's pros and cons to solo training, and the benefits that you get from partner training and solo training are different, all right, because they're 2 different things. So, I recommend that instead of comparing them, if you like partner training, that's awesome, that's great. Now what you got to do is you got to learn how to like and appreciate solo training, all right? Right here it says, the solo training seems a bit easy and boring. When I look at my solo training, it's challenging and exciting. So you got to do that. That's on you. You have to find a way. It's called martial art for a reason. You got to get creative, And that, I think that's also the reason why the person said right here that they feel like the solo training doesn't help them as much in class as it did in the beginning, that they kind of feel like they've kind of slowed down in their progression. When I look at the solo training that I'm doing, I don't feel that way at all. It's exciting. I feel like I'm learning, new stuff. That it's like a Rubik's Cube that you solve, and you keep solving, and it keeps presenting you new problems. So it doesn't slow down. If it slows down, it's because you're slowing down. If you go at a faster pace, then, well, I mean, you can't rush these things, but it shouldn't slow down. If it's slowing down, it's because you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. So I highly suggest to you that you make your solo training, you find ways to make it exciting, all right, and you find ways to really appreciate it, or that to me is very, very important. And also, it's not just about the progression. Of course you want progression, but you don't want to focus too much on that. It is what it is. The times where I'm solo training and then I figure something out and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, that just clicked for me. I've been doing this for 5 years, and now now I get it, or something like that. All right, that to me is a bonus. That's not something that I'm necessarily aiming for. You know what I mean? You don't want to put so much emphasis there. I wouldn't. I would put the emphasis in just the diligent training, and then, if I'm ever in a self-defense situation or whatever, where does my confidence come from? It comes from the fact that I know that I've been putting in the time and work, so that's really the strength. Why are you so confident? Well, it's not that I'm so confident necessarily. It's that I don't even have a doubt. I just know what I got to do, and I just do it. Why am I so sure that I could do it? It was because of my daily training. It's because of the time that I've put in. So, I think that's more important than how much like something clicks and all of a sudden makes sense, and you're like, oh man, this is great. Now I figured this out. And once you think you figured something out, 3 months from now, your perspective changes. And then you go, whoa, this just opened a whole new door. It's a never-ending Rubik's Cube puzzle that you're constantly solving, and it's never-ending, and that's why you're a student for life. And if you view it that way, it's exciting. I have a blast with it. So I highly suggest that you try to view it that way. And the other thing is, when you watch The Karate Kid, all right, when I look at Daniel-san doing his training, and also same with Jaden Smith, it brings tears to my eyes, because I know all the hard work that's ahead of them, and but man, I can tell you, it's so worth it. It is so life-changing. I highly suggest it, and it's about building character. It's a spiritual journey. It's a lot of things. It's not just a technical thing. And it's the discipline and all that hard. You're working so hard, and you're learning how to learn better, and you're developing a strong hard work ethic. That's what it is. And you got to be humble to do that. And especially if you're going to train long term, because to me it's all about the long term training. But anyway, when I look at those movies, and one of the things I think Mr. Miyagi said to Daniel-san was that, Daniel-san's like, dude, I've been basically being your slave, and I've been cleaning your stuff, and painting your fence, and waxing your cars and all this. When are you going to teach me? You're a scam artist or whatever, And Mr. Miyagi is like, things don't always seem as they are, they and then that's when he shows Daniel-san that those were actually martial arts techniques in there. And same with Jaden Smith, where Jackie Chan was basically, I think the first message was like, dude, this is martial arts is about developing a hard, strong work ethic. That's what you got to do. And then the next lesson is, there are things that you may think is not important, things that you may not think is exciting, things that just look boring and stupid and easy. But no, they're actually very, very deep, and they're exciting, and there's a lot to it. And if you really, develop it and think of it, it can be overwhelming. I find some of the stuff that I'm solo training by myself right now is just overwhelming. I'm like, oh man, that's too much. I gotta go slower, much slower. I have to slow myself down. It's too exciting. And some stuff click, and then the next day you totally forget it. And I'm like, what was I working on? Oh my gosh, so complicated. What exactly was I doing? And there's stuff like that. So there are things that you may not realize that is super valuable, and it may take you 5-10 years, and then you go, whoa, what I was doing back then, that was awesome. It may turn out that way. So, just have an open mind and, try to appreciate the little things that you're doing in your solo training, and that should really help out a lot. And then also, Jackie Chan, one of his points to Jaden Smith was that everything you do in life, the martial arts is there for everything that you do. How you treat people, everything. So in other words, it is a lifestyle. It needs to become a lifestyle. In order to become a lifestyle, you have to master solo training, because whether we like it or not, for most people, 90% of the time we are at home alone. We're at home, and we don't have a training partner. We're not at a martial arts dojo. We're not at a martial arts school. We are at home, and without a training partner. So, if you're really serious about making it your lifestyle, part of your lifestyle, that you're going to live and breathe martial arts, then you got to solo train, man. And there's so many things that you can do. It could just be watching videos. It could be reading about philosophy. There's so many areas. Or it could just be working on, stretching exercises, or, trying to meditate, or whatever. It's endless, it's endless. But, anyway, I hope that helps. I'm sorry that I was all over the place. This was actually a very, very tough question. I mean, it was tough in a sense that I'm trying to say it in a way that is going to be helpful and inspiring. It's easy to say, like, oh man, dude, you just need to work out hard. What the heck's your problem? Something. It's easy to say something like that, but that's not going to help this person, or that's not going to help people watching this video. What I gotta say to you guys is, you gotta be motivated. And, just like one of the things that motivated me was that, where most people quit, where what most people find, what most normal people are going to find difficult, or they're going to think it's boring, or they're going to think it's, there's nothing special about it, this is not exciting, and they're going to overlook it, and they're going to end up quitting. That is where I go, that's where I'm going to try to put the extra effort, and that's where I am going to pass where most people fail. You see what I'm saying? And that's going to take me to the next level, because to me, that right there is like a little small mountain that you have to climb, and most people won't. So what this person is describing, this person is intelligent enough to identify a mountain. So once you identify that mountain, climb it, man. That's all I got to say. Climb it and conquer it. And then it's going to take you to the next level. So just keep going and going and going. And the last thing I want to say is that there's that famous story that Mike Tyson, where was he? Like in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, something like that. And it was like snowing hardcore. And it was like an epic snow. And Mike Tyson was running outside. And someone saw Mike Tyson running and went up to him and said, "Mike, what are you doing? It's snowing like crazy out here." And he's like, "I know, I'm running right now because I know my opponent won't be," And that's exactly the mentality. That's the Navy SEAL mentality for me. Where most people give up, that's where you go, this is when I'm going to start working out now. Where most people want to go to bed, this is where I'm going to start working out. Most people want to eat a hamburger and fries and entertain themselves and watch a movie. This is where I'm going to start doing some stuff that's going to be productive for me. That's the kind of discipline that you want to have. And man, that's exciting if you think about it. And then when I look back on the times that I've done that, it brings tears to my eyes because I know it's difficult, and I'm so proud of myself, for doing it. And I just got to keep going. I mean, at the end of the day, it means nothing. It's like, so what? You did that. But that's just for me to enjoy for myself. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but when you go watch a superhero movie, everybody that watches a superhero movie, when they come out of the movie, they're thinking they're Spider-Man, or they're thinking they're Captain America, or Batman, or James Bond, or whoever. If you watch the movie 300, every guy that came out of that movie, maybe girl too, when they come out of that movie, they think they're King Leonidas. You know what I mean? They think they're one of the Spartans. You can see it in just the way people are walking. But I don't want to make that a fantasy. I want to make that a reality. So when I came out, when I went to go see Spider-Man, I remembered the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And, he gets bitten by that spider. And then the next day, he has that severe fever or whatever. But the next day, he's like muscular and he's ripped. And, he doesn't need his glasses anymore. All that to me, where he's climbing walls and shooting webs out of his hands, that's just an exaggeration of real life. So in real life, it could just be agility, or being real flexible, or being faster, or having good reflexes, or whatever. And all that comes from training, and having a good physique or whatever. All of that comes from training. And so when I viewed Spider-Man, and I saw afterwards, when you're coming out of the theater, and I look around and I'm thinking, oh, everyone out here coming out is thinking they're Spider-Man, I feel like, well, for me, it's not just fantasy, I am the real life version of that because I've actually put in the time. And I'm so glad that I did. So what I'm trying to say is, get bit by that spider, that radioactive spider that bit him, will get bit by the martial arts bug, all right? And let that motivate you. And it's nice to watch those kinds of movies and enjoy the fantasy, but why not? You have the ability to make at least a little bit of that real life version of that for real. You have the ability to become a real life superhero in a sense, so why not do that for yourself? All right, so that's all I have to say. And it does come from hard work, and enjoy it, get creative, and it's totally worth it. So learn how to make solo training your friend. So anyway, if you listened this long, thank you so much. I'm sorry it took, it's a over 17-minute video, but thank you so much, and I hope it helps. And take care, folks.